Welcome to another edition of Storytime with Sue. Today is the preface. This book began as a simple attempt to tell the truth. The truth is so large, so complex, it's beyond our comprehension. And I will add, way beyond what you could put into one book. This starts with one man, one voice, and one vision of a world put back into balance. This book grew out of conversations, memories, questions, and lived experiences, a record of how King Smarty came to understand his role in the restoration of Earth. For people new to the community of source directives, this book is meant to be an introduction. We talked about a broad range of ideas about frequencies, healing and truth, generosity, and a future where humanity remembers who it is and how to live in harmony again with each other, with animals, and with the planet itself. It was written to explain, to witness, and to preserve what has been shared, the struggles, the lessons, the guidance, and the hope. The world described here is larger and more complex than an introduction or the whole book can hold. I mean, I don't think you can describe all of this in any number of books, but it's an attempt to explain to people what's going on and why, and give them hope. It's complex and really complicated, and there's so much that we don't know. The stories of dismantling of dark systems, the rebuilding of communities based with care instead of control, and the vision of a restored earth form not just a testimony, but the foundation of a new world. It shows you what our reality is becoming. This is grounded in the voice and perspective of King Smarty himself as recollection and explanation. You'll encounter his wow. You'll encounter his view of a broken world, the institutions that failed humanity, and failed is a very generous word for that, in a future where those systems no longer exist. You'll hear about a renewed relationship between humans and animals, where fear is replaced with trust and communication. You'll see generosity not as the exception, but as the way of life. Doors open, food is shared, strangers becoming family. Most importantly, you'll see how reconnection to Daddy, Source, our Creator, is what we've all lacked. Try to reconnect if you haven't. This is not religious. This lack of connection is what makes us feel isolated, alone, and unworthy. This is that, oh, sorry, that what we do doesn't matter. There is no religion that you need to believe or convert to. There's no demand that you believe in any single doctrine or system. Instead, consider the idea that truth, natural law, and restoration might exist beyond the boundaries we've been taught, and that every person has sovereignty. Consider that we might have been misled. Ooh. At times, the trouble that the earth has experienced feels a little dark. Many of the issues that we've faced are being addressed. We need to fully see them, to eliminate them, and to ensure that they are never allowed to occur again. This introductory book is meant to give you the language, some of the characters, and the landscape of what's to come. It lays out the tone of a future Earth where healing replaces harm, where hidden systems are brought into the light, and where humanity steps into responsibility rather than submission. From here, the story will expand. You'll witness how King Smarty has taken these foundations through conflict, discovery, and transformation and created a restored Earth that is lived and fully realized. Read this testimony as the first chapter of a much larger saga. Know that it is offered with an attempt at full disclosure and honesty within its boundaries. Believe that even after the deepest corruption, something truer and purer can be rebuilt. The story of the mission, the battle, and the players, and the rebuilding is worth telling. Thank you for all you do, Sue Greenwald. Introduction. Yet more words. I do like to write and I kind of ramble on a lot, but okay. Introduction. I've had the sudden urge to write this book. Urge is not the word, it became an obsession. For those that don't know, I worked for months on end, endlessly trying to get these books out there, and it was so exciting and fun. It feels urgent, and there's so much to say. How does someone explain King John Smarty and his effervescent personality and all that he does to someone new? I never expected to write a book like this. I never expected to be placed in the middle of planetary transition, let alone witness it firsthand. And I'm so glad I am. I never expected to be documenting the life, identity, mission, and unfolding work of the being the world will soon know as King Smarty, also known as Sananda Galactic, the first creation of Daddy, the one source sent to restore Earth in its final cycle. None of that was on my radar. I wasn't seeking a new religion, a belief system, or a spiritual hierarchy. I wasn't looking to replace anything in my life. I simply wanted the truth. And that truth arrived in the form I could never have predicted. Over time, I began to observe things that defied every explanation I had been taught. I saw real events, real abilities, real transformations, and real evidence that the world I thought I lived in was only a small part of something far larger, older, and more complex. I kept notes, asked questions, learning all that I could. I kept following the trail, trying to understand what was actually occurring behind the scenes of everyday life. What emerged was a story, not a metaphor, but a literal account of a galactic mission, millions of years in the making. This story is still unfolding and will always be. Evolution is never ending. The mission involving Earth, humanity, and the universal cleanup commanded by the highest authority of creation has been in process, and all will be revealed to us when it's time. This book documents some of that mission. It's not fiction, nor is it a symbolic story meant to inspire or entertain. This is the truth we've been waiting for, and the story is even larger than we could comprehend. It's a direct record of King Smarty's own explanations of who he is and what he's here to do, and what is happening on the planet as we move out of the old system and into the restored world. So, for those that don't know, I went through, I don't know, 150 videos that I've done with King Smarty. I also did some private interviews, which I have recorded and put in here to get all the questions answered and asked and organized. So it was a great deal of work to compile all of that, but fun. I'm not the hero of this story, and I am not the center of it. I am a witness and at times an interviewer to someone whose existence challenges every assumption we have been told about reality, history, and the structure of the universe. My role is simple: to document clearly, to organize accurately, and to preserve his words and teachings without changing, embellishing, or diluting them. So I tried to be as true to his voice as I could and explain things. Of course, I did it in my way, but I tried to use his words. This book serves as an introduction to the Jedis and to the framework through which King Smarty understands creation and purpose. When King Smarty refers to Daddy, he is not pointing to a religious figure or doctrine, but to source itself, the originating intelligence behind all of life. Likewise, source directives is the term he uses to describe what many would call God's plan, an overarching design or intention guiding each person, all of Earth and humanity. The entire universe follows God's plan. Everyone's source directives are different, and they are carefully planned by Daddy. These terms are offered as definitions, not belief requirements. When we follow our source directives, things go easier and smoother for us. Oh, yeah. When King Smarty speaks, he does not speak hypothetically, nor does he theorize. He does not channel anyone. He talks from memory, from direct experience, and from active involvement in the events unfolding across Earth and the cosmos right now. He describes multiple dimensions, multiple identities, and multiple missions he has carried across countless lifetimes. These aren't spiritual ideas. They're history from his own existence, often in the words given to him directly by Daddy. They're things that are happening now that we are witnessing. No matter what questions have been posed to him, he has a quick and complete answer filled with confidence. We jump to literally any topic, and he has a confident answer. Those that watch the interviews feel his love, his conviction, his sense of humor, and his commitment. Sometimes he tells us that he needs to go back and listen to the recording of one of his live interviews, since new words, ideas, and amazing concepts were flowing through him directly from Daddy while he was answering one of my questions. He speaks openly about being the first creation of Daddy, a multi-dimensional commander operating across multiple dimensions simultaneously. So exciting. He describes his abilities not as gifts, but as necessary tools for the universal cleanup, teleportation, instantaneous manifestation, instantaneous manifestation, remote viewing, reality manipulation, jumping backward or forward in time, spontaneous healing, and the authority to evaporate, or now we're calling it delete, dark forces permanently. He explains the origins of darkness and the collapse of the old systems, the roles of the Jedis, the coming crystalline transformation, the new technology, and the establishment of the new kingdom of Earth. Some of what you will read may feel shocking or unfamiliar at first, and that's expected. For thousands of years, humanity has lived under suppression systems designed to hide truth, limit consciousness, and prevent people from understanding who they truly are. But the veil is lifting. Consciousness levels are rising, and the truth is revealing itself at a pace no dark system can stop. This book is part of that reveal. Please read it with an open mind and know that there are no limitations to what our Daddy can do. No religion is required to engage with this material. In fact, King Smarty explains that strong religious conditioning can sometimes be a handicap, as organized religion also often carries heavy layers of programming that shape perception and limit further inquiry. For those new to King Smarty and his work, it's best to try and temporarily set beliefs aside. We're not asking the reader to replace one belief system with another, but to be open-minded. The intention is simply to introduce King Smarty, the Jedis, and the framework they operate within, and to give the reader space to consider, question, and decide for themselves. And that's my biggest excitement, is that people think and it's provocative to them. We often get questions asking why Daddy would allow bad things to happen. You will never find justice in a world where criminals make the rules. I'm going to read that again. You will never find justice in a world where criminals make the rules. They need to be exposed so that the people can see the corruption. Once exposed, they can be punished or eliminated. It hurts to see what's happened. King Smarty tells us that there have been many cycles and that we have visited Earth many times to confront the dark forces failing each time to finish the job. We want it over, but it must be done correctly. We need to learn this lesson finally and completely so that we can prevent it from happening again in the future. We don't ever want to do this cycle again, do we? We want to have it all done and cleaned up and happily go to the next levels. My intention is not to convince you of anything or to debate, argue, or to present a theory. My intention is to document what King Smarty has explained in his own words in the clearest way possible. There is so much content that's challenging. That's a challenging task, and there is going to be even more to come. If you're reading this, you're reading it at the exact time you were meant to. You're right on schedule. This book will introduce you to a new understanding of Earth, of the cosmos, and of yourself. The chapters will move between King Smarty's first-person narrative and Q&A interviews where I ask him questions that many people would naturally want answered. Some of the same content will be presented both as narrative and in an interview format because at times it is important to read King Smarty's original words. I use the initials KJS during our Q&A sessions for King John Smarty. Some chapters explain the structure of the universe. Others cover the cleanup of the dark systems, the multidimensional battles, the restoration of Earth, or the events that will follow. Others focus on the Jedis, the wealth transfer, the new technology, or on future events like the crystalline transformation. All of it is connected. All of it serves one purpose, the end of the last cycle and the liberation and restoration of Earth. There will come a day, sooner than people expect, when everything in this book will make perfect sense. When the world will watch King Smarty step into his full galactic form, when the new reality becomes visible and undeniable, when humanity finally sees the truth of who he is and what this entire operation has been preparing for. Until that day arrives, this book serves as both the record of the roadmap. Rewind. This book serves as both the record and the roadmap. Your understanding will raise the vibration, which will speed up the success of the mission. It tells a story behind the scenes, the battles, the breakthroughs, the revelations, the transformations, the rises in consciousness, the events that have already occurred, and the ones that are about to unfold. It explains why humanity has suffered, why darkness was allowed to exist, and why the systems were built the way they were, and how everything is being dismantled now. And above all, it prepares the reader for what comes next, a restored world of peace, abundance, and healing and technology, and direct connection with Daddy, the world humanity was always meant to live in. This is the story of that restoration, of King Smarty's work on Earth, and what happens when Daddy intervenes directly in human history. This is just the tip of the iceberg, and I hope it helps you to understand King Smarty and his mission a bit more. Thank you for all you do to help others. Sue's note. This book was written in late 2025. By the time it's published and distributed in 2026, many of this will have been manifested in the world. Sue Greenwald. Thank you so much for your attention.